The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chit-Chatting with Jocelyn. I am your host, Jocelyn Davis, and today my guest is Doris Hohensee. Boy, I just asked you and I can't say it. I never get that name straight. And Doris has very kindly accepted my offer to come in here and let's talk about everything COVID. Let's talk about Sununu and his unconstitutional emergency orders that just hit the number 70?
70, yes.
70.
Well, he usually extended them by a month. Last month he did it 30 days. This time he did a month and a half because the election's in the middle. He's just going to
So he went past the election.
Yes,
right.
He went past.
So he's
November
been doing
15th,
this since March, correct?
March 13th, yeah.
So extending it
8
every
months.
30 days. So March to April, April to May, May to June, June to July, July to August, August to September, September to October, October to November. 8
months.
Extensions.
And next Friday he'll extend the state of emergency because that's every 21 days. He's rolling these over.
For what purpose?
Well, he said that he needs a state of emergency to be able to collect federal funds. And you know they're more important than your rights. Got to have that.
Got to have the money.
Got to have the money.
It's more important than we, the citizens of New Hampshire.
And now that he's in control and doesn't need the legislature, he's telling us when to put a mask on, when to take it off, when we can go home, when we have to stay home, everything we're supposed to do.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me ask the questions
what
that
do
most do.
we need a legislature for?
Yeah. Did you read my mind?
I think so.
So let's go over. We got state constitution, you got federal constitution. The state constitution supersedes, that's what each state is run by. They mimic each other. You have a president, you have a governor.
Yeah.
Back in the days before
the federal supersedes the state. Like you were talking about the mandates, like if you can't wear a mask, there are people that have been reporting they cannot go to the doctors anymore because they won't let them in.
Correct.
And they don't care about their disability. There's not equal access anymore because now that COVID is here, your federal rights are gone. Mm-hmm. There was a woman that said her husband's in travel. He's an airplane pilot. So he can never go into a doctor's office because have you traveled in the last 2 weeks? Well, yes, I've worked
That's my job.
last 2. Yes, so it doesn't matter. He'll never. So you pay insurance for your medical care.
Which most of us have not received in the last 7 months.
7 months, yeah.
So we've got the two constitutions. You have a president, you have a governor. Mm-hmm. You have a legislature, you have a legislature. You have a judicial branch, you have a judicial branch. The president, governor, does not make law. They enforce law.
Right.
Your legislature on both levels make law.
With due process, giving us a voice. That's
Correct.
The other thing that we haven't had. Even when they met in UNH, where was our voice? Were we allowed to attend?
No.
Were we allowed to talk to people, our representatives?
No. So when you look at this process.
That is one of the governor's worst edicts. I don't know what emergency order number from 0 to 70 it was, but when he said that they can have virtual meetings, which are essentially secret meetings.
Right.
You can't see them face to face. You can't have public comment for 6 months in Nashville. We finally got it once, and people got cut off, and you got cut off, you can't get back in.
Correct.
This is not giving us a voice. I had to go to court. You can't face your accuser anymore. You're on a phone, not a picture phone, on a phone line. That's not facing my accuser.
No, it's not.
COVID, out the window for the Constitution.
Seems out the window for everything.
Does
that do as I say, not as I do, is absolutely upfront. And so back to the governor. Why has the legislature not convened? Why have they not assembled? And why have they acquiesced to anything he wants? They are our voice. And if we tell them you should assemble and you should meet, we want to vote on this and we want a voice in this, why is this not happening?
I think the Democratic leadership, because they are the majority, have been cutting deals with the governor. We will do this in exchange for you not throwing a fit and vice versa. But they should have met. They shut down because of fear of the disease. You know, if you were a nurse and you couldn't handle it, you step down from the job. Someone else who can handle it steps up. Same with the teacher. In Bedford, they said, if you can't come into the classroom when we're opening, you need to resign. I mean, you have to be fit for the job. There's some jobs that say you have to be able to lift 20 pounds or whatever it is. There are requirements for the job. So now all the districts are saying we have MOUs, memos of understanding, that with COVID around, there's all these different things they can do. And if they're in quarantine, they get paid for that. And they're not teaching. In Nashua, they're supposed to open up today.
But they're
or this Monday, January, if that.
January. So what happens to our property taxes?
We're paying them.
We're paying them.
In good
They're
faith.
being taken them, and we've had, in good faith, we paid them in June for the next 6 months. In good faith, we paid them in December for December through June, and there's been virtually no education. There's not
a breach
been
of
anything.
faith, because we voted for education. We paid our taxes. We expect, and the law says 180 days in an approved building. And, you know, full time, not just part time, not just 1 day a week, 3 hours.
And not via the internet.
No.
So
So Sununu has just said, forget all those laws. We're not going to worry. I think the only reason they're opening up is because President Trump said, if you don't open, you don't get federal funds. So they had to squeak it open, the
Bare
minimum
minimum.
amount. And we did that in Nashville. We're going to do 1 day a week, 3 hours for the high school and middle school students.
1 day, 3 hours a week for high school?
Yeah. And then 3 half days for the elementary school. So how do you teach them to read over the wire? Anyway, but they canceled all that October, November, December, 3 months out. So are they going to get their federal funds? I guess they feel more confident that they're going to get them. The state's going to give them the funding because Sununu doesn't really care what they do. It's great.
This is absolute insanity.
Our
Over
city hall
what?
isn't open. The courts aren't
open.
Why are we paying for any
Concord
of this?
isn't open.
So when you want to go register your car, you've got to make an appointment. You go down, you do something, you make an appointment. It's like all these inconveniences. They're in the buildings when they want to be. But why are we're just shut out.
We're shut out, we're shut down, and we're
voice-
shut up.
Yes.
We have been gagged.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
Gagged, quarantined, and tagged.
Yeah, well, they're going to try to give us the tag.
Yeah, so,
the COVID
you know,
vaccine.
people, what you need to do, you can't rely on us
No,
to
everybody
do everything for you. We're happy to give you the information, but what you need to do is you need to find out who's your town lawyer, who's your city lawyer. And you know what? Find out who that person is and do serve these people and say, you have broken this, and this law. You're not giving us the services for our property taxes. Start there, because it's going to end up with the lawyer anyway. Otherwise, go serve all your aldermen or
you
your
would
school boards.
serve the mayor and the alderman and
But you got to
CC
get
the
near
attorney.
them first.
You'd
And
have
so I don't think you're going to get near them. So that's why I'm saying the town lawyer or somebody like that
You're not gonna
that would
get-
have to.
You don't.
Not going to get near them
you're not
either.
gonna- yeah, you can
Well,
mail
we have
them.
to start. Well, then we need to start calling all our
representatives, on
representatives
every
and
level.
don't stop, even if they're Democrat, even if they're not your
Well,
political party,
there was-
and start demanding.
There was a Democrat on our school board. I am not coming out of my home. I cannot. It's not safe until there's a vaccine.
Well, then how'd she get her food?
They took a vote, and it was 5-4. They almost made it, but the 5 said stay virtual in these secret little meetings. So I was going to the post office, and I saw her. I clicked a picture, put it on Facebook. What do you mean she's not leaving her home? There she is. She's out of her home. So let's reconsider that. Let's open up the school board so parents can go out and talk.
Yeah.
There's a petition in town, I think, with 500 or 600 people. They're a little bit upset that the hybrid program, the 3 hours a week, got delayed 3 more months.
I would think so.
It's almost a year's worth of education. Those
Gone.
kids are gone. It will never be.
That we've paid for, that they've paid for, that these children have lost a year's worth of education.
So this woman,
I was just going to say, let's get back to this
elected
person.
official got so upset she went to the court, and for free she filled out a restraining order. Stalking. I am stalking. I happened to be at the post office. Did she tell me she was going to be at the post office? So I must have been stalking her, and she was in fear for her life. So I put this on Facebook. I got 500 comments because people are concerned.
Yeah.
65 shares. And I get the police at my door saying, you have to take it all down. You can't talk about any of this.
Why? There's no court case.
Well, it's
Well, she filed, but
for
at that
3
point,
weeks. I had a gag order. I would be arrested if I even spoke about it. Yet she's on Facebook talking to aldermen at large, laughing about it. Laughing about the restraining order against me.
because you happen to go to the
they're
post
not
office
arrested.
and see her.
Well, it's hypocritical.
Yeah,
So
at
she
minimum.
she had a temporary one. They automatically gave her a temporary one. And I had a 2.5-hour hearing over the phone. 3 weeks later, it finally got dismissed. But she wanted a restraining order for me for a year and take any firearms I have in my house. Now, even if I don't have them, I don't want gun-free school zone, gun-free home on my house. It's kind of like, open game.
Oh, yeah.
So I know I won because I have political speech. She should have known that. She's an elected official. She didn't like criticism.
Well, I'm sorry if you put out there, I'm afraid to leave my home, and you're an elected official.
And you're out there?
Step down. Hit the bricks. If you cannot
Serve
for what you were elected for, that you promised, that you took an oath of some kind to
Imagine
do.
if you went into the army and you said, well, I'm not
sorry.
healthy enough. I can't do it.
Yep. Time out. I'm leaving. Okay. COVID's scaring me. Doesn't happen.
No, you
And it's
sign
like you
up.
said, the teachers and the representatives, if you can't handle it, get out.
Well, I could see a couple of weeks. But this
We're talking 6,
this
7
is
months
permanent.
now.
This is a permanent mess.
With no accountability, with no transparency.
With no metrics for when it ends and no promise of an end.
Well, wait a minute. When there's a vaccine. So that leads me to believe.
When there's magic, how do we know the vaccine even works?
Exactly. And how did it get past all this testing? There's never been a vaccine in less than a year.
How is that New Hampshire company going to make 1 billion doses when they haven't even approved the final version? Why are they making 1 billion? Is that wasteful?
Sounds to me like there's been some kind of agreement and there's been some of this being passed around. And we're the guinea pigs.
There's 2 laws, as you know, on the books, and that says that the governor, in a state of emergency, he can declare with the health and commissioner of health that everybody should be vaccinated for our own health. But people can refuse. So you're thinking, okay, that's great. I can refuse. But if you refuse, that same commissioner can write a complaint that goes to a justice of the peace, not a court judge, a justice of the peace, like a notary, like your friend down the street that puts the shingle out. Yeah, that acknowledges this came and identifies the person.
Yeah.
That order goes then to the police. They can take you, kidnap you from your home, transport you, and get you vaccinated. That's already law.
Law or mandate?
State law.
Who passed that?
The legislature.
They did?
Yes, that's state law.
When did they do that?
2002, 2008.
Okay, not recently. Okay.
No, Sununu did not sign these. He did sign House Bill 1639.
Which
that
is?
says if you're unconscious and your advocate is not here because they don't let anybody in the
anyway.
hospitals,
Yep.
they're all outside, you still can't get in. I had to wait outside this week for a family member. They can have an agent that if it's the health protocols, there's different language, some kind of health protocols, to do experimental programs, they can decide for you when you're unconscious without your consent and give you that experimental whatever. And a COVID vaccine sounds a little experimental to me.
They all sound experimental to me when you're using
Unconscious and your advocates are not allowed in the building.
Well, I took my mom down to Boston yesterday to a doctor's appointment, and we walk in, you have to wear the mask. So you want to see the doctor, you do what you got to do. And that's not for everything, but she needed this appointment. So we did that, and they said to me, you can go wait in the car. No, I'm power of attorney, I'm medical, proxy. I need to hear what's going
They've done
on
that to
because
me.
you've got a mask on and
She can't hear.
she can't hear and she can't read your lips because, oh, by the way, you have 2 masks on. Nope, you have to wait in the car.
Do you get in?
No, I had to go.
I got in.
I did not get in.
My mother goes
Sent
in.
me out to the car.
I said, not only she can't hear you because she's 95, but they're going to give her an injection, a macular degeneration in the eye. She's going to be startled. She needs somebody to hold her so she doesn't slug the doctor inadvertently. They let me in.
They did not let me in.
Because they don't want to touch a
all.
patient. They let you touch the patient.
Right.
Yeah.
They would not let me in. This is the first. We'd been, had opened up around July and there wasn't an issue. And she went and had a procedure in August. And we go back and, nope, you can't come in.
Your mother's younger. My mother would be so confused. It would take her a week to unwind.
Well, it's just to remember all those questions.
No,
all of that.
When you're under stress, that's right.
That's on a good day. We'd be the same way.
Well, true, but I always go with an older person because they can't remember what the doctor said, and what
I agree, and you should always have 2 sets of ears, no matter what.
Right, because you're the patient, you're under stress. It doesn't always.
Well, didn't Dan Bongino, getting my letters backwards, had said he had just had an MRI and he looked at the doctor's face as he was coming out of the MRI machine and heard the doctor say, "Well, it's not blah blah blah."
Yeah, it's not something benign that he had thought.
Right.
So then
and he said,
you
I
freeze.
never heard another word after that.
I've seen
so
that.
why are we not allowed to advocate for our family and friends? And now we have 1639 that says if they so desire, they will inject you with whatever. And it's not just COVID.
Well, it's not just
it's flu. It's
any experimental,
experiment. Yeah.
Experimental medication or procedure, anything.
It's insanity.
Why would any governor sign that?
I don't know. Why did you do that, Chris Sununu? Why did you sign that?
There might be some cases that there's no one there for them.
But we should be opting in, not opting out. And we're not even given the option to opt out from this. They're just deciding this is what you're going to have because
a lot of patients have relatives.
Yeah, most of them do. So I want to throw out a couple figures, and then we want to talk about the letter from the AG.
Yeah.
So I want to throw out a few numbers because everybody, we had, Biden, and he had one of these.
Oh, a wire. He had it on his wrist,
and he had it was either
an
an IV or some kind of transistor or something on it. They found several of them, but he did have one of these people. He's freaking out. 200,000 people died. And I'm not making light of that. I'm not making fun of it. And I'm kind of tired of everybody having to apologize for that. 206,000 people have died of COVID, of which the CDC has said, in the U.S., excuse me, yes. 6% are COVID only. The rest were comorbidities. Here's some numbers for you. 7,000, approximately plus or minus, 7,700 people die every day in the United States of America pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. That's 2,700,000 people per year before COVID. In New Hampshire, approximately 9,400 people die per year pre-COVID, which is 27 people per day. Mm-hmm. So when you get a report which just came out, 52 new COVID cases, which really means you tested positive on a swab that we don't know whether it's actually accurate, that doesn't really test for antibodies. Today was 47 cases in 1 week in Bedford long-term care, no hospitalization, so they tested positive. Everybody's losing their minds that 52 people tested positive when in the state of New Hampshire, we have 27 people dying every day, every year from everything else.
But what they don't tell you, Cuomo put COVID patients in nursing homes. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. But what we do is in any long-term care, if you have COVID, you're not removed.
No.
No, you stay there. Mm-hmm. And then everybody locks down. They had a little bit of mobility, but they were semi-quarantined. But if they get a COVID, everybody locks down. You can't even get your mail. It has to be delivered to you.
It's sickening.
So it's
really sickening.
They're not serious about the quarantine to protect the elders, but they love to take the whole population down.
Oh, yeah, because we can shut everything down and shut everybody and do as we want. Yeah. We got a couple minutes left.
So you want this? Okay.
I want to talk about this letter from the Attorney General.
11 months after
11
I
months, yeah.
filed a complaint in October 30th about the election, because not only does Nashua the unions do not file their campaign expenditures.
Okay.
And the state doesn't care because that's a local ordinance and you can't get anybody to enforce it. And it hasn't been enforced for 12 years. And there's a fine of $100 a day. Every day is a new offense. They could collect millions, but they don't because they want to favor the unions because they want their vote.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are they doing that, which makes it unaccountable to the people, but they were sending emails through the district and handing out literature in the building. Now, that's wrong under the contract, the union contract. But the state doesn't care about that. And the school board is union endorsed, so they don't care either. You see, it keeps working. But finally, there's a state law about electioneering.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling me, the AG's told me, oh, don't worry, I had to wait till September 21st, 2020. He had to wait 10 and a half months for the lawyer of the union to get back to him. He didn't put much pressure on him.
I don't think he put any pressure.
And the decision sounds like that lawyer wrote it. Because the union president sent his emails from a private computer outside of school and he's not an employee. Let's dissect that. There were 42 emails I gave him. They were not from the union president. They were for the teachers sharing the message of the union president all across the district. So he didn't even look at the issue. And what him's not an employee, that's another big thing. There's an MOU, Memo of Understanding in our contract that most other districts don't have.
Mm-hmm.
That union president is a teacher. He gets benefits. He gets seniority. He gets severance. He gets years of experience. Everything, if he gets a raise, it's all in there. And then the union pays the district back. So it's like as if he's right in our building and he gets all that and then he pays us back. So you tell me is he an employee or isn't he an employee? It's a very peculiar situation. Next, he can go anywhere he wants with in the building. They shut our security down. We had IDs to go into any building. We have 17 schools.
As the school board.
I was on the school board. They shut it all down with a new superintendent, Superintendent Mosley. Real piece of work. Because we shouldn't be allowed to see anything in the schools without asking him first and only going on a special day and only for a limited amount of time and sometimes even being supervised by the assistant superintendent. That happened. He can go anywhere he wants in any classroom, in any building, and he has complete access. And I, as the school board member that supposedly rules the district, is shut out. So between that and this letter, it's amazing. So now I have to write up who said what to whom at what time, because they were all during school time. 10 o'clock. Don't you think school started by 10 o'clock?
I'm pretty sure it did.
So when they're using district equipment to send it to other district personnel using computers and internet, all of it, I mean, even the president should have used their personal emails, not the .edu district emails.
Correct.
Then it wouldn't have been through our servers. But no, it's all through our servers, but there's no electioneering. It got reported to me by a Republican who was a staff member, I can't say what school or whatever, and she said she did not like to be in the building before school and being handed union political literature. These are who you're supposed to vote for. These are who you're not supposed to vote for. That's electioneering in our building. It's against the contract.
Well,
But the state law, he's saying, oh, it was before school, it's fine. Well, it was during school for the emails. May have been before school for the literature, but the whole thing stinks.
It does. It reeks. And even so, to me, a layperson on this, you can't hand literature to people as they're walking in to vote. You can't approach people in certain instances and places. And we've all heard about the unions approaching people and saying, you'll do this or else. And here you have absolute proof during school time, taxpayer dollars, using internet and school property.
Mm-hmm. But you'd think he'd say, even about the things that he doesn't have the domain now, that he was shocked and he would encourage them. I mean, the state gave us a charter We're not following our charter. It's in our charter what we're supposed to do in our ordinances. And when we're not, I guess I have to go to court and sue them in court.
Oh, you mean you got to go on the telephone call?
Something like that.
It makes no sense. It feels like the last, actually it doesn't feel, it is. We have been in lockdown. We have been living communism for 6 months.
Yeah.
Tell me we haven't. You can't go to your courts. You can't. If masks work, so let me just throw this out here in our last minute or two. If masks work, how come you can't go to court?
Yeah.
If masks work, how come you can't open up City Hall? If masks work, why isn't school open?
How did our mayor get the COVID?
How did Lynn Blankenbecker get the COVID in a hazmat suit on the USS Comfort? If masks and all that stuff work.
Yeah, she got it. But she didn't mandate masks. Our mayor's mandating it, and he gets it anyway. So obviously.
So that's not even hypocritical. That's scientific proof that he wore a mask and he distanced and he did all these things that he
and it didn't work.
Forced everybody, and it didn't work. So what was it? The mouse? What was it, off the toilet seat? I mean, at this point,
I don't know.
It's making a mockery, and it's absolutely proving 1,000% that they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute lies. These numbers of look up the numbers.
They're hiding behind science to do what they want to do, and they're all up to no good.
I literally stutter like this all the time, and I haven't for most of my life. At the corruption, at the locking down of American citizens, and I just don't understand people. How are you okay with this? Look at it. You're paying property taxes for your children to go to school. We're paying property taxes for your children to go to school, and they're not going to school. You should be livid.
Even if you don't have kids in the schools, you are paying to get your community educated, and it's not happening. It's false promises.
We need to stand up. We need to stand up, people, and it's stop paying your taxes. Pay your town taxes. Don't pay your property taxes for the school. We have to come up with something.
Well, you can't
Let's
do
all
that
get
unless
together.
you put it unless you have
In escrow. So put it in escrow.
You need an attorney. You have to file a suit, and then you put it all in escrow.
Maybe we need to do that.
Maybe.
Well, I want to thank you, Doris, for coming in last minute for me and talking about very important events and laws and mandates and stuff going on in our state that affects all of us. You think it doesn't, but it does.
It does.
So I want to thank everybody for joining me, Jocelyn, on Chit Chatting with Jocelyn and Doris, and we will see you next time.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.